Hey everyone, it's Argonath here from The Right Way, and I came across this article on the Daily Mail, showing us how woke the National Health Service is in the UK, and how, well, according to this doctor, he believes that it's putting patients at risk because of this, and just this absolute pandering to what percentage of trans people out there? 1 to 2% being generous? I mean, pandering to them and then treating the other 98% of people differently as well because of this is just ridiculous. So let's have a look at what's going on in the National Health Service in the UK. Hello, sir. Before we proceed, can I just ask you if there's any chance you might be pregnant? Well, me being a man will be F off. There's no way that I'm going to be pregnant because I'm a guy, you total F idiot. This is not the scenario that I would guess any of my medical colleagues would ever in the past have been expected to face. Yet, as the highly charged debate about gender versus biology airs in Britain, in newspapers and magazines, on TV and radio, and particularly on social media, such questions are becoming a reality only because it's the woke management people which are driving this. It is something we healthcare workers need to get used to fast, because in the so-called gender wars, the NHS is the front line. Only because, again, the powers that be have decided it to be that way. They're pandering to the woke mob. While much of the media discussion to date has centered on people being cancelled for their views on gender or arguments about transgender athletes competing in women's sport, it is in our hospitals that the practical consequences are being felt. Take the latest example. Most women of childbearing age will be familiar with routine questions from health professionals about the possibility of them being pregnant before they undergo certain procedures. Doctors are required to find out if a female patient could be expecting before she receives radiotherapy, undergoes diagnostic imaging, or has any treatment or scan involving nuclear medicine because of the potential risks to an embryo or fetus. According to reports this week, some NHS trusts have started asking male cancer patients and male patients having x-rays and MRI scans if they could be expecting a baby. What a ridiculous question to ask to a man to pander to these trans people. This follows the government's decision in 2017 to replace the phrase females of childbearing age with individuals of childbearing potential. Oh my God, the political correctness gone mad. The Walton Centre NHS Foundation Trust in Liverpool, one of several trusts to have adopted the practice, says it now asks the question of all patients under the age of 60, regardless of how you may identify your gender, who are scheduled to have procedures that involve radiation. Some see this as yet another example of women being erased from society. It comes after J.K. Rowling caused a Twitter storm when she took issue with the headline about people who menstruate. So that's the new term with women that these woke journalists came up with, was people who menstruate. Isn't that degrading if you're a woman? Of course it is. And Labour politician Rosie Duffield came under fire for supporting criticism of a tweet that referred to individuals with a cervix. Oh my God, that is so disgraceful to be calling a woman an individual with a cervix just to pander to these woke people, these woke trans people. It is of course hard to disagree with their objections because increasingly woman is becoming a dirty word. It is seen as bigoted and exclusionary by some because it fails to include trans men who might still have female bodies, including sexual organs. But then you're being exclusionary to women because you're not calling them by their proper name as well. And they are the majority compared to the small minority of men who become women. But I see this latest development in which men are being asked if they could be pregnant as emblematic of the knots we are tying ourselves in, especially in the National Health Service. At times, what is happening in the health service seems almost Orwellian. This month it emerged that a patient had allegedly been raped by a trans person on a single-sex ward in an NHS hospital. Who was the effing idiot that put a trans person on a single-sex ward which was full of female people? Just because you're trans doesn't mean that you still don't like putting it up a woman, right? Doesn't mean that you're still not interested in having sex with a woman just because you're a trans person. I'm absolutely disgusted by that someone got raped by a trans person because someone had the bright idea of putting them in the NHS ward, single sex ward, because of woke ideology. That's absolutely disgusting. And this is even worse. But when people contacted the ward, they were informed that there was no male there, therefore the rape could not have happened, despite CCTV footage and witnesses to the attack. Who the F were these people that were on the ward? I am so angry right now that this could have happened. This is because the legal definition of rape means that a crime can only be carried out only by a physically intact man, and the alleged perpetrator identified. What? This is because the legal definition of rape means that the crime can be carried out only by a physically intact man, and the alleged perpetrator identified as a woman. Can you not have a woman rape a man? Is that not a legal thing in the UK? What the hell? And an NHS policy known as Annex B allows patients to be placed on single-sex wards according to the gender they identify as rather than their sex. It has meant a kind of nightmarish newspeak has been ushered into under the auspices of inclusivity. And someone got raped because of this. I feel so sorry for that woman that got raped by this biological man. It's absolutely disgusting. The mantra trans woman are woman and trans men are men is inclusive and celebratory. I applaud that, but when it comes to medicine, it is simply not true. Well, they're not a trans man when they rape a woman, right? Trans woman, when they rape a woman, are they? They're still trying to be a man, aren't they? Critics are right to say it is clinically dangerous to prioritize gender over sex in clinical settings. The pandemic provided a good example of this when we discovered that people born male, biological men if you will, were at increased risk from the coronavirus. While I was working on the COVID wards, I noticed that the panicked NHS very quickly dropped the politically correct terminology it had been promoting around gender and simply asked people for their sex because it could be a matter of life and death. Well, there you go. When something's important, then they chuck out their woke ideology when it should be chucked out from the very start. The problem is that as a society we routinely confuse and conflate gender and sex. So let me spell out. While gender is partly socially constructed, sex is a biological fact. So he goes on to about the definition and so on, all that kind of thing. So this is the important point I want to get to at the end. I do not believe that NHS's obsession with gender ideology is being driven by patients. No, it's because it's all the woke idiots in management that are driving it. All the trans patients I've seen over the years have understood that from a medical perspective, being a trans woman is different from being born a woman, and that being a trans man is different from being born a man. They have been open about their gender identity, and we have discussed their specific medical needs in a respectful manner. This is not to say trans people don't experience prejudice, and often this is born of it. That's right. So you're not going to get a biological man who is now transgender, identifies as a woman, going into a hospital, going, treat me completely as a woman, give me all of the drugs and all of the surgeries I need based on me being a woman. Because that's obviously not going to work, and they don't want that either, do they? But no, all of the idiots in management can't get this through their thick heads. But from everything I know, the vast majority of NHS staff want everyone to have a good experience of the health service, and they work hard to make it happen. I've seen how to avoid patients being misgendered. Staff has discreetly put notes on the medical files to ensure other staff are aware of the patients. So could this not just be asked, just discreetly, you'd have a tick box or something, are you a biological woman, are you a biological man, just for purposes for being able to treat you correctly? I mean, surely no one is going to get upset about that, but no, they have to treat everyone else differently for the sake of the small minority that of people that do that. Just ridiculous. I'm just still so angry about the woman that got raped by this trans person on the single sex ward when it should never have happened, which is absolutely disgusting. And then the people on the ward had the gall to say that it never happened because there was no man there. What the F? That's... Anyway, I'm just too angry. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you agree with what this doctor is saying, or if you disagree, then let me know why. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, you're welcome, give it a thumbs down. And if you like my content, please subscribe as well. Hopefully I'll catch you in the next video.